So guys, actually, I cannot minimize it. I believe you guys are able to see this particular screen. Okay, so these is the basically the problem that is there. So let me read out for you, and then you'll able to understand what's the problem is, and then we'll talk about the possibilities of the implementation, how you're going to implement it, and what is the important points that you have to consider as a beginner. If you are guys are expert, you can do in that way. We are not following these kind of practices over here. we'll just going to consider we'll just going to we'll just going to consider the important implementation of it, and I would be giving you this as a homework, or I would be going to cover this particular thing as an enhancement of the second part of this video. But at initially I would just like to go for the discussion of this particular problem, and we'll try to solve this particular problem. So let's understand. We have to write a program um, which would randomly generate the housey ticket. This is the famous game. Okay, here are the rules of generating the ticket. Okay, there are the few rules. Okay, this is basically a ticketing system. We have some rows and we have a few columns. Okay, so if we go like this, we have this kind of a structure we have. So there are the 3 row and 9 columns, and from 1 to 9, 1 to 9 and 1 to 90. So first column of the value from the means is simple, that the first column value can contain 0 to 10. Second column value can contain 11 to 20, and so forth. It's like that. It's going to be value filled could be filled in this way only. Means whatever would be the column, you can get only those particular records. Okay. So each column has the max 2 cell fields. What does it means? Means whenever you are allocating the tickets, okay, only 2 can be filled. If this is filled, only one of them can be filled. If this one is filled, so no more element can be come over here. Okay, so I hope you are understood the logic, means how it's going to be proceeded. Secondly, the number cannot repeat in the column. So these two number that you are printing, it could not be repeat. It must be the different number that we have to also consider. Means we have to think in terms of the unicity. Unicity is must be green x or y x. So that way we also have to think upon. Okay, and okay, so each row has the max 5 cell filled. Hence, and each row, every row, because basically there are 9 rows, or sorry, 9 columns, and in each row, only the 5 maximum can be filled. Okay, and in if total we count upon, so there would be only the fixed 15 values could be present only at most. And each time when we are generating or running this particular program, the matrices must be the different one. You should not always generate the same kind of results. Okay, let me reiterate this particular problem once more for you better understanding. So let's say we have a kind of you can think of the matrix, and matrix having something, let's say these are the column. Okay, and let's understand these are the total in 9 number of column. And basically if you talk about the rows, basically there are the 3 rows, that's 0 1 2, and similarly 0 1 2, and just doing the dash dash, and 0 8, because that would be the last. So what are the rules? Rule number 1, maximum of the 2 could be filled. Rule number 2, not more than 2 can be assigned. Rule number 3 is that maximum of the allocation in the one go of the row is 5. It cannot be 6. 6 number is not allowed. And in total, whenever the total count would reach 15, means only the 15 allocation is possible in this particular matrix. So I hope at least the question you are aware about what the question. So thing is that how we are going to approach it. It's a matter of the fact how we are going to approach it, how we are thinking of doing a particular problem as a as a solution, how we are approaching towards a particular problem. Okay. So first, as if you are a beginner, there is a few kind of assignment for you guys. Don't even think about this is about the two-dimensional array. Forget about the two-dimensional. Apply implementation even a single directional. Okay, generate your each time, let's say put generate this array 100 times and print some random values at most 5 places, and all time it could be different. Like if for the first iteration just place 1, 2 and 3 like this, and second iteration this value could be shuffle. Okay, in that direction, if you start thinking how it is going to be implemented, then you will came to know we are going with that. Okay, so let's start with this my implementation. Let me jump into this is the actually that I have written the solution. I'm removing everything is for you just to make better clarity how we are going to proceed. So first task is our is that we have to generate the some random indices, because what we want to something kind of because we really don't know. It's a just kind of real lottery system. We really don't know when a particular cell will be going to be assigned. So first target would be is a kind of let's say I'm just creating a method which is a kind of let's say it's just a start a game. Okay, that's a method particular we are creating, and for the sake of simplicity I'm just creating another method. Okay, uh, oh, sorry. Sorry. It says I have removed the public static void main as well. So main method is there, and thereafter, what we are going to do, we are just start. Sorry, start game. Okay. Okay, guys. So after that, I'm just going to create this particular method, and let me do some kind of basic initialization purpose. What kind of initialization? We know we have a game that is a housey game basically, and we are just taking the two-dimensional array as we have taken already, and new int. Okay, and 3,9, right? We have taken, these are the dimensions that we have talked about, right? Now we know what the occupancy that we are going to allow. So definitely these are should be the dynamic values, and we can change it later on. That's not a challenge. If there, as we have already talked about, the games and regulations must be the dynamic. Okay, but later, as of now, we are going with the fixed value. We is to making it a dynamic is not a challenge. Okay, so there another one is the occupancy. Uh, how occupied limit is there. So uh, let's say occupancy limit, and limit is something is 15. So max 15s are allowed. Okay, that's one thing. Secondly, what we are trying to do before means well, what we are going to do, we'll just run we run this particular program until and unless we reach this particular threshold value, right? So first of all, before moving to this particular loop, we must generate the maximum number. So we have I because we really don't know where to go. Okay, so get random number. Okay, number, and thereafter we have to just pass the 3. It would give me the number. This particular function's responsibility is that what it will give us the number between 0 to 3. Okay, similarly I am doing for a j. Okay, similarly I am doing for the j, and that will what will happen. It will similarly what it will just give me the same number, like again get random number, and it's give me the 9, let's say. Okay, so I would create another method for the same. Let me create another method, and its a basically responsibility is to generate the number. And let me write the function how we are going to generate the random number. Okay, so it's a maximum possibility. Okay, and we are just how we are getting it is we are typing as a return. We have a return. Okay, and return what we are doing, return of int. Okay, and we are doing we are basically the using math function, math and dot random. Okay, and thereafter we have to multiply it by the max, so that it just give you the maximum value. Apart from that, it will not give you anything. Okay, so let's test it whether it's a really working condition or not. Okay, and thereafter we'll just let me print some kind of sysout statements, and then we'll move upon in the further things. Okay, so okay, so as out, and let's make print I and j. I and j are nothing but the allocation indices. As a I, when you are thinking of the I, it means row, and J represents J represents, yeah, J represents the column, and I represents the row. Okay, okay, println, and this is the J. Okay, so let me temporarily okay, it's a game, and thereafter we are doing it as a new, and we have a kind of, it's a okay. If you guys have any question, you can ask me in between. That's not a problem. So see, if let me run this, this giving the random number, and let me put in a j. Let me run more times, because that's the expectation. We must have some kind of random number between 1 2 3, and because these are the represent, how the matrices are being painted. Let me come back to again this particular picture. Yeah, so it's basically, I hope you guys are already aware about this is 0 comma 0, this is 0 comma 1, and so on, 0 comma 2. So this is basically here I is representing the 0, these kind of row that we are talking about, and j represent the vertical column. Okay, j represent the basically the vertical column. Okay, okay, So let's me move to another further implementation. Now we have somehow get to know where to put these kind of values. Okay. Now the challenge is that we haven't let's say we are going to print it means before doing anything, like we have the occupancy limit, and we just came must know is whatever the we have got the address, because IJ are nothing but the address of your cell. Okay, these are the cell, and we have a particular address. But what I'm if I'm going to write some value on that, but is it that valid or not? Because that we have talked about the many rules and regulation for that particular cells. Okay, so here uh, I am just writing another I'm just putting a lot of sysouts. I will definitely going to remove it as we progress the particular program. Okay, so let int data is equals to, and the method name is the validate, and and return the number. Validate and return, you can just more appropriate name. And what the values we are going to pass it, we are just going to pass I comma j, and I just pass the game. This is the our array, and the simple objective of this particular number is that if everything is goes well, just return me the data accordingly. Okay, and then I'm going to put it over there. Okay, so let me create this particular method. Okay, so, okay, so we have a what the things that we have to take care upon. So first of all, if, because if rule number one, let's me talk about the rule number. Rule one is says if the value is already filled, so it cannot be overridden. What does that mean? If already, why, if already value has been already allocated to some cells, why you are going to override them? Okay, so so how we are going to avoid it? We know that if we have initialized this particular array, and by default value would be the 0. If it contains apart from 0 any value, it must be automatically filled. So the rule number that one I have talked about is a kind of let's say game, and after that is a I comma j. Is this means is a row, and column is the more suitable words, and thereafter is equals to 0, right? Okay, so okay, and return -1. Okay, so what does it mean? If is or if it is not 0, don't fill any value, return -1. So minus means something that we are going to reject this data. Try one more time. I'm simply instructing my program. This is not, is this particular position, something is already present over there. Don't go and don't write. Okay. Now we come to the second rule. Let's talk about the row counter, and we're going to validate against the row how many values are being filled. Okay, specifically not row. These are basically the yeah, row counter. So int, let me put some row counter. So it's nothing but it's a 0 in at the initial stage. And what we are going to do, we are just let me initialize with a loop. We are doing int r is equals to 0, and r is less than and 3, because we know that it's a maximum rows are 3 only, right? And it's a plus plus, right? And thereafter what we are going to do, if the game are, because if these are the value, we are just going to fix the column. We are just moving in the vertical direction. So what I'm trying to let's make another another sheet that I'm going to make it, and then I'll explain it. So let's say again we have this particular matrix. So what I am trying to do over here, so we have just fixing the j, because j is the j represent the column. So we are moving in the only this through loop, we are just moving in this direction only, and for this particular block we are not moving anywhere else, right? So okay, so what I am trying to do, if I'm just counting how many values in this particular column are non-zero, right? So that means is not equals to 0, and we are just incrementing by the row counter, right? So let me increment it. I'm really sorry. Hmm. Row counter and plus plus. Okay. So after we are just increasing the counter, and as we know that we have a rule number 1, and we are just doing it. If the column cannot contains, what I'm trying to do, column cannot contains, yes, more than 2 values, right? That's a simple that's simple logic that we are going to apply, right? So if row counter is greater than or equals to 2, return -1. -1 means negative response, we are not adding any values, right? In the similar fashion, we have a column counter as well, because we are in the column, or in the particular sorry, actually it should be in a column, but by mistake I have written other code, but that's anyway, it's okay. So int column counter is equals to 0, and we are moving, what we are doing, we'll just have to check for uh, int c is equals to 0 and c is less than 9, because we are now moving column by column, right? In a particular row we are moving, and c plus plus, right? And thereafter what we are going to do, we are just doing same kind of stuff as we have did previously, and it's a kind of game, and where we are just making this time I as a fix, and C as a just keep on moving in the right direction, and calculates how many elements is already present over there, right? And thereafter what we are going to do, we are just incrementing it, call, sorry, column counter plus plus one plus plus, right? So that is being done, and just after this for loop we have to apply another rule, or you can say just rule number 2. Rows cannot have more than 5 element. Okay, so if we have a something call counter and greater than or equals to 5, we have reached that particular limit. So in that case, what we have to do, we have to just return -1, that hey, we are not considering your value. Now Now things we have these two kinds of rules. Now the challenge is that if we run this particular program at this particular moment, it it's a kind of things that will work, okay. And we also have to write another. I'm just going a step by step detailing process how the program should be written. Now my approach is that hey, somehow I have my array should be initialized, okay, and the value must be start type writing exactly in the 15 exactly in the 15 format, okay. So let me just initialize some kind of random values that's I'm just going to return after this, okay. And definitely I'm going to get some random number, and let's say under the 19, just give me any random number at the initial stage. Okay, now just now let me move to the initial step of the program, and where we really going to work an assignment that we are going to do it. Okay, so first of all, what we have to do, we have to put this particular block in a while loop, because we can allow only the 15 data. How many data that we can allow? So until and unless this occupancy limit is not reaches to a zero, just keep on this running this particular program, okay. And after running this program, what you have to do, just each and every time you just need to just calculate a random number, random port each time until unless it's not reaches till you can think of zero, okay. After that you can do it, okay. Now one thing that we have considered, we are going to add its value only when it's a greater than zero. We are not considering any kind of value as per rule which is below than below than zero or negative number, that we are not considering it at all, okay. So let's come up with I and j that we have generated randomly, okay. So it's a data that we have just received from there itself, and occupancy limit we are just going to remove or decrement it, occupancy limit. And thereafter what we are going to do at the final step outside of this particular loop, once it is these the things are done, we have to print this particular program, okay. So S is out, as so it is out. And what we have to do, we are just using an array inbuilt function, arrays and dot deep to string, because it's help us to write your string. So let's print it, and then we'll think of how we are going to do it better. So let's see, or let's finger crossed and see what is really happening behind the scene. So see, things are being printed, but are not in proper format. So I'm basically using some kind of algorithm, or you can say just kind of replacement. Some ij I have printed it. We're going to remove it, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to replace. Okay, what I'm going to replace. First of all, I just wanted my this one. Sorry, uh, like this. I just want to display something kind of with a new line, okay? And that looks much better as compared to previous one. So let's do in this way, and let's see how it is being printed. Let me run this particular program again. So see, we have a pretty much a better formatting, but as the number will increase, we will lost again kind of display. Okay, so first of all, what I'm again doing this thing like replace first of all with single zero with double zero. So actually whatever the single double zero that you are going to see is just because of this operation that I'm doing right now, just to make it a better look and feel very clearer. That's the thing I'm doing right now. It's nowhere it's double zero means a single zero, right? It's nothing, not more than that. And and for one more changes that I'm going to it, just I'm going to replace uh, I'm going to replace comma with what I am going to replace. I'm just going to replace with a pipe character and few and single space. Now it should be looking much better as compared to previous one. Okay. So see, we have a kind of data that is coming in some kind of matrices format. Whether we will no data as of now, both rules have been applied. Like no data, we can see in a more than two in a particular row. That is being perfectly working. And I believe if you count, go and count in one, two, three, four, five. Any row don't contain more than that particular order. So just to show off you guys, I just use a int stream and I ran this particular program 10 times. Okay, and then I just try to show you how it's being really working. So let's say 10 to 9, and thereafter uh, dot for each, and after that what we have to do, we have values, and we have to we have to just invoke it. I am not going to do anything of this value to value because it's not required for me. I'm just going to execute, and for each line of execution what I am going to do is, you can do it with the for loop. I'm just doing in the Java 8 manner to make us you can simply run your for loop and run this particular program in a more than 10 times. Okay, and one more sysout I might have put somewhere that also I just want to avoid, where let me search it out over there where I have put it, because unnecessary we are getting system.out.print. Where else? Yes, this one. These are not required anymore because there would be too much logs going to be generated over here. And now this one. Okay. So these are I have ran this particular program, and with these two rules, has been followed. Although we have observed that there is a lot of mess is still there. We are not getting the proper values and proper system. So now we are going to fix this particular thing. We have applied rule 1 and 2 successfully, but still the things is that we don't have the proper number like we have as the rule. This particular, if we talk about the 0th index, is must be like a 0 to 9 value, and second one is the 20 range, and 30th range, and 40th range, and so on. This function should be move on. Okay, so let me start that way, and let me write this particular in that only. It has to be generated in the proper random function. So first target would be get random number for the column. Okay, so that would be the my function that I'm going to create it. And before uh, i'm I'm just writing your program just intentionally in a broken system, because you must understand how the program or how the a developer should think upon, right? So let's say I'm just creating another function, okay, random number and for column, because we are very specific this time. We don't want any number, we want a column specific number, whatever the column, and column represent over j. Whatever would be the j is here, that's would be the number. Okay, that's cool. Now we are just going to create this particular function. Okay, so now let's okay, so there are the certain rules how we are going to do. If Now this is the checkpoint, are we getting the value appropriate, the column based or not? Okay, and thereafter we are just going to validate for the same data. These are the few rules that we have to implement. Okay, so we are just thinking it's high is the highest number. What is the highest number is possibility is there, right? So it's a high. Let's say we are just calling it's a high. And if the high value means it's a, what is the upper range that we are talking about? So upper range, let's say it's a 0, or whatever the value we have received index as a 0 is nothing but as a column, and we received the column as a 0. So what would be the max limit? So we have changed it's because we know if it's 0, so max limit must be somewhere you can think of is equals to 10, right? That would be a kind of max limit, right? And else if it is not the case, we have a kind of max limit, okay, where we exactly, because the indices are in that particular format, and we have to multiply it by 1. And uh, what we it might be, because you guys, if you debug this particular program, you might be able to understand more. But as of now, it's a +1, it's a +1, and then we are going to multiply it by 10. It's just giving me the range. What does it means? If it's 0, it's by default maximum, because it's a thing upon the column. If we just go in the terms of column, it's a 0, it's a 1, it's a 2, and it's a 3. So if it's a 0, max limit would be the 10. If it is a 1, it's a multiplied by 10, and sorry, multiply 1 plus 1 and then multiplied by 2. If it is 2, it's a 3's range, so it's a 1, a 2 plus 1 and multiplied by 10. So that would be the max range. And what would be the lower limit of it? We are just also keep creating what is the low of it, because we have to also create the lows, right? So in that particular section, if we are going to create a low value, it means high, and it's a -9, because these are the values that we are going to cover, 21 to right, uh, right? Because we are not including that particular value. Now we are just going random, because random is a class which could be utilized over here. Okay, so random, and we are just doing return and r dot next int, and there are the two input parameter, next int, and what would be that? That would be a kind of high, and high, because we are giving them minus low, and then we are plusing the low amount, right? Oh, sorry, I have made some mistake here. Next, it's a next int. Okay, so we have given the lower limit, and this we are just plusing it. Okay, that's a minimum value. We are just bounding it. That's the value we are required. Okay, so now let's rerun our program and see whether we are getting the right set of data or not. At least now in this case, things might be repeated, but It must be in the appropriate shape at least. So guys, if you observe these kind of results, it's a 4, 4, 9, 16, 15, 29, and 30, 31. Means we are in the proper shape. Like we are getting appropriate values. We are not getting like anything. We are getting a column specific values, not anything, right? Okay, that's good. Now we have proceeded something, we have did something better, but now the thing is still the challenge. If there might be some scenario I haven't found any of them, the repetition of the value I have still seen there, I'm not able to see, but that would be the possible. Yeah, we have gotten. If observe, these are the 3 and 3, these are the repeated value, which is not expected. It should not be the case, and this is the violation of the rules, right? And I'm intentionally running too much test cases so that even you don't understand. If you think that this program is right, it's not. It's still there is a still a bug. And the last rule is left is that we just need to include the existence of the thing, whether we have to appropriately validate whether our data is exists in that particular column or not. If not, then and not only then we are going to consider it, right? Okay, let's start. So this is the place where here we are going to write up our code, right? So let's for the time being, we are just removing it because it's not a, so int, and it's a data, and data which is of kind 0, right? We has understood that, and we must run a kind of do while loop or any kind of loop that you prefer, but I want to execute this particular piece of code at least once. Later on, you can, if you want, you can remove it from here, but for at least a single time I just want it to be executed, right? Okay, now, okay, so I have just created I'm just creating a few flags so that I can, I just I should must know when to exit from this code, right? So I'm just creating a Boolean. Boolean is for the condition, and is a value, is a value, and set is value set, and it's a basically false. Okay, and data is our 0 right now, and we don't have, and let me at least put the while condition to, I hope you guys are well aware about the while loop. It's at least one time your code is going to be executed, right? So it's, I'm just putting your is everything is goes well. Okay, and let me put some code. So data, as we now we have get the data, get random data for the column, right? And it's nothing but the J. So it's exactly the way we have did it, right? Okay, so okay, I don't know why it's giving this like this. Okay, so is value set is equals to, now this time we are really checking in this particular column section, is my data already there or not? This is the final condition that I am going to check. Is value exist in column or in exist in a particular column? Okay, in a column, right? That's the way I'm going to do it, right? Okay, now just I'm passing the details, and then after I'll use IntelliJ functionality to create my, and this is the data that has been recently generated, right? Okay, great. Now I'm just creating another function, and let me just put the return over here so that my compiler is happy. Okay, right. Okay, so alt enter. If you click on the alt enter, it will create another function for me, right? So now this particular thing is really easy, and now we have just created a status, boolean status is equals to false. Okay, I'm just giving the false status. Okay, it is exist or not. If it exists, it will like just make the true, and it will get written back. um I know there is some intentionally writing the hard coding, but we can avoid it later on. That's not a big challenge. So k is equals to 0, and k is less than is equals to 3, and thereafter k is plus plus, right? And we have a kind of we am just going to check it whether if, because we have to just move on the row section. A column is fixed particular case, right? So we have to just move this k, right? And j is the fix, because we are moving in the vertical directions only. We are not moving in the row horizontally. We are just moving in the vertical directions. We are not moving at all in the row directions. So I hope you guys are able to follow along. But if any things that you require, you can directly let me know through the email. I'll try to make it more clear by the next time. Okay, and if it is exist, that make it true. Okay, and just break it, and we are, to make the compiler happy, we are just returning the status. Okay, and the status is like that, right? I hope we are very near to that. Yep. And now let me run this particular program again, and let the finger crossed. And no value should be repeated. Even if you run this particular program in 100 times, there is some exceptions has been occurred. Okay, so I believe we have recently put the is not should be equal to. So guys, if you count even, let's count. I'm giving it. First of all, you not found any duplicates in the vertical directions. That's one thing. Let's count the present number in some one of or two of the array. Is a 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and finally 15. So you cannot, in any of the array, you cannot have more than 15 elements. And that's a objective of initially that we have set. This was the objective of this particular program. And as you can see that as particular is this particular questions, we should not have any kind of hard coding. Exceptional handling has to be handled. Okay, so definitely these things could be done as a creating the constant values. Okay, that I am not taking care in this particular session. I expect you to do this thing as a homework. And if any challenges come to you, please let me know. I'll be reachable to you guys on the comment section. Okay, and I hope you have enjoyed this particular video. So if you guys have any questions, please send the feedbacks. Thank you.